We have already built most of the Bloodmage vampire classes. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look into the kind of a most mage version. We have already built the knight and the river. In today's video, we are going to be building the mage portion, which is, in essence, it's going to be a necromancer. Now remember that this is a mod class that you can find right here in the mod manager. You go into classes and here you will find the Bloodmage, which is one of the most favorite classes right now, alongside with the mystic class. Remember that we have already built most of the mystic class, and remember that the mod manager is launching today on consoles. So yes, have at it. Go and play these amazing classes on PlayStation, Xbox as well. Now I know that a lot of people have the concern, is this balanced? How balanced is this? I am placing the title of this video very overpowered, and yes, it can be very overpowered if you build it properly. However, it is balanced. There's better options in the game, more powerful things than this one. If I'm being honest with you, I like this class, this subclass of the Bloodmage. However, this is essentially a necromancer. You are going to be a vampire, Lord of the Dead, that you're going to be able to heal yourself on battle. That's going to be your sustainability. But in reality, if you wanted to build a necromancer, going for the wizard, it's the best option by far, because you get extra character features with the necromancer for the wizard, with the subclass for the necromancer of the wizard, that are going to make this much more powerful than what we would regularly be making right here with the Bloodmage. However, the Bloodmage has the benefit that it's cosplay value, dude. You're a vampire, you're a Lord of the Dead. You're not going to be as amazing Lord of the Dead as a regular necromancer, but you're a vampire in the end. Now, interestingly enough, for leveling up your character, you are going to have 2 uneven numbers, and there is a very specific good reason for that. I know that you shouldn't have uneven numbers, but in this case scenario, it is needed. The main stat for your attack rolls is going to be your constitution, and you are going to be using quite a bit of attack rolls. And then it's going to be dexterity. Why are we going to be using this? Well, this is a blood mage. However, this is not a ranged character. Even though that this is going to be mostly a mage, a necromancer mage, you are going to be required to be on the fray of battle. So you have to build sustainability with armor class. Dexterity is going to do that for you. A feature, a character feat that we are going to be taking later on, that's going to increase your armor as well. As you'll notice, I am using medium armor, and that's because the medium armor is going to get more benefit from our dexterity. There is a character feat that we can take that can increase our dexterity to 18. However, this is also subject to respecting your character, because once you reach the end game, you are going to lower all of your points into constitution, because we're going to be using your amulet of constitution. At that time, the dexterity is going to remain the same. However, you can increase points into charisma and intelligence, which are going to be bread and butter for this character because of the skill proficiencies. Vampires are natively charismatic characters, and the skill proficiencies that we want for this guy is going to be religion, history, and persuasion. That's just for roleplay value. You can select different things in here. You can use sleight of hand proficiency as well if you want to steal things with this character. There's many things that you can go about and around with this character right here when it comes to the skills. Now, for the spells. There's a couple of spells that you are going to be using more often than not. The main ones are going to be raising characters, corpses, skeletons, ghouls, and things like that. But have in mind that the main damage of this character class, it's not going to be that amazing. Your main means of damage is always going to be coming from your cantrip, the Blood Siphon, and the Blood Bolt. These guys are going to increase their damage as you level up, but the most important thing is that the Blood Siphon, this is going to be your main bread and butter, because this is going to heal you as you deal damage, and I can't stress how important that is for a character that has medium armor class to be able to sustain the health. This is melee damage, so you want to be using a shield with this character. As for everything else, just make sure that as you level up, you take the spells right here that are... It's very simple to know when are you taking a spell that's actually from the modded class. And beyond that, just take things like debuffs, because when it comes to damage, you're not going to be able to deal that much damage other than using, like, for example, like I mentioned, your Blood Siphon. So, as we level up, we are going to choose the Blood Magus. This is going to be our main class right here, because this is the one that's going to give us the most spell slots. If you go to the Blood Knight, which is a build that we have made, or the Blood River, it's a build that we have made also here on the channel, it's not going to have that much spell slots, so you're not going to be able to upcast your spells, and you're not going to be able to have the armor, the army of undead that you would be able to do so with this character, which is not necessarily going to be an army as a necromancer would have, but it's nice. When you reach level 3, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to have hold person. Whenever you're fighting humanoids, this is going to turn the game into easy mode, and if you combine this right here with your cantrip that you use to deal damage, you're always going to be healing for the most amount of damage possible. I like to also take the Man Sacrifice, because this is your AoE kind of damage. Now this is where it gets interesting. With your feet, there's a couple of things that you're going to want to have. You want to sustain concentration, because that's the main thing that you're going to have with this character. However, you also want to have medium armor, the moderately armored. This is going to increase your dexterity to 18, giving you +4 to your armor class and your dexterity. There's medium armors that only allow you to have a maximum value of +2. However, there's a link in the video description on how you can get an armor on Act 2 that allows you to bypass that, giving you the extra 4 points into your armor class, and that's also true for the endgame. So yes, I think that you should take moderately armored at level 4 as soon as you can, but you can swap that in between Warcaster and this one right here, because the armor that we're speaking about, you're not going to be able to get it until you get to the Act 2 of the game. So yeah, there's that. At level 5, you get your first animate dead, and that's when your build is mostly established. The gist of everything right here is going to be that you're going to be able to animate the dead to kill things, and then you're going to be holding them with hold person. Later on you're going to get hold beast to have a little bit more versatility with that thing right there, but essentially everything that you're going to be doing in here is going to be debuffing the enemy for you to deal damage with your undeads, and to be able to deal more damage as you heal yourself. At level 9, you get access to level 5 spell slots. My advice is that you take the hold monster, because the hold person only works with humanoids, and there's a lot of different types of creatures right here that is going to give you the access to be able to hold them again. Remember that when you're holding something, you deal a guaranteed critical hit damage to them, so I can't stress enough how important it is for you to have these guys right here. Very, very powerful. At least that's my personal preference. Now at level 10, you get a very useful cantrip, which is going to be the Blood Puppet. This is going to make people fight for you, and essentially it's a better version of Dominate person or beast or anything, because this guy right here is general. At level 12, you get access to create undead. This is going to raise a mummy. It deals tremendous amounts of damage, especially when you're holding a humanoid or a beast. This is very powerful. At this point, you should already be level 12, meaning that the constitution doesn't require any more focus, because you're on the 3rd act of the game and you get access to the amulet of constitution, meaning that you get 23 constitution. You can use your final ability improvement to increase your dexterity all the way to 20, giving you +5 into your armor class. Let's talk about the itemization of our character. We have a total of 26 armor class. You want to be using the shield that's always going to give you +3 armor class, regardless of the shield that you have. You can find shields like that on the 1st act of the game. And then the armor of agility. Remember that linked in the video description, there's an armor similar to this one that you can get on the Act 2 of the game, so that you don't actually get a cap when it comes to your dexterity, increasing your armor class right here. And then the Circle of Bones, this is just going to alleviate a little bit the animate the dead of your spell slots if you don't have enough spell slots. as you level up, you're going to discard this one to something different that you would like to use, because you are going to have access to level 5 undeads, opposite to the level 3 that you have right here. But as you're leveling up, this is very, very useful. The same thing happens with the Crypt Lord ring, although this is a little bit better because you only get access to a level 6 necromancy spell with this character. Meaning that you can only summon one mummy. If they kill it, you cannot summon it until you take a long rest. With the Crypt Lord ring, you get access to a second one, which is very, very useful. The Spellmight Globes are going to increase the damage that you deal with your cantrips. And remember that if you're dealing damage with your cantrip against things that you're holding with your spells, like humanoids or beasts, these are going to potentialize the damage even more. And I don't even need to say anything about the Amulet of Greater Health. This is just a must that you need to take as soon as you get to the Act 3 of the game. There's also the Staff of the Cherished Necromancy. This is very useful because it gives you the heightened necromancy, which means that creatures have disadvantage on saving throws against the necromancy spells. And this actually does applies to your mod spell, so that's very, very cool and very, very useful. You should have this as soon as you can. So what's the gist of everything? How should I be playing this character? Well, first and foremost, you can be using Blood Puppet at the start of the combat to command someone to fight for you, and then as soon as you kill something, you can animate the dead. Remember that you cannot use Create Undead, which is your level 6, to summon the mummy. You cannot use this when you are fighting, so you should be using corpses of things that you have already killed, and this is going to be with you until a long rest. And remember that you cannot raise things that have been killed with magic. So if you have your fighters on your crew and things like that, make sure that they deal the final blow, because otherwise the corpse is not going to be good enough for you to be able to raise them. Demand Sacrifice, it's a very, very useful spell from the class that also gets the bonus from the staff that we're using right here, and this is basically AoE damage, and it's AoE cheap damage. It's never going to be that amazing, but yeah, I mean, it's AoE damage that it's nice to have. Now, the burn butter of your character, the main damage that you should be using to deal damage is going to be Rent and also your Blood Siphon. Remember that both of these guys are going to benefit from the critical hits that you deal when you're holding something, whether if it's a person or whether if it's a creature. And this means sustainability for you. At the end game, we have 26 armor class. When you're leveling up, you're going to have about 23 to 24 armor class, depending on how much dexterity you have. You can also be using the Globes of Dexterity when you're leveling up to increase your armor class with the Act 2 of the game armor. But essentially, the armor class is going to be sustained. Also, the sustainability of your character is going to be by the healing of your Blood Siphon right here. If you like the content, a like in the video is super appreciated. No one has told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.